Good morning, Mike.
Nicholas, good morning. Is
It's
your
good to
real
see
name
you.
Nicholas?
Yeah, is your real name Michael?
Yes, it is. All right, am I hosting today or are you hosting? How do you
I
want to
don't
do
know.
this?
What kind of vibe are you looking for today? Because I can tell you where I'm at right now, and it's not a good place
Why are you in a bad place?
because it's football season. And I know that for most people, like football brings about excitement and good feelings, but not for me. I
That's
feel I feel
that's
horrible. I have heartburn. I had two things with coffee today. I feel like there's an alien inside me trying to jump out of my chest. Like I'm not in a good place mentally or spiritually right now, but that's a good thing for me because I'm like a mushroom. I grow in the dark, so I need darkness to thrive. So I actually like in a weird way I like where I'm at today.
you're like Bane in the third Batman. I was born in
Yeah.
the darkness.
Yes. I
I
mean
was
that's a
molded by it.
really that's that's like Bane without the baritone in his voice. So
I was born in the
anyway,
darkness.
it makes for a
what
funny dub,
what did
but
you do last night? Like why is your heartburn? Did you stay up?
it's no, it's not about what I did last night. It's about where I'm at in my life. And week 0 is in the books. College football starts really this weekend. Kansas, Missouri State on Friday night, and I'm just like this is kind of my baseline for the entire football season. There will be ebbs and flows. Like I will feel better at points. I will feel
But
like this for much of it,
does
but
this
this is
feel
just kind
right?
of
Yeah, do you feel
yeah, it
right?
does. It does. In a really, really bad, sick, dark, twisted way. It does feel right.
Yeah. Like you want to be in pain on after like a long, good
You think
Saturday.
I want to feel good? You think I want to feel normal?
You're bringing it today. I'm hosting. You're bringing the color.
All right, you host.
You're
Let's
the
see what
radio
kind of
pro.
chops.
Nick, yeah, the radio pro first episode will not be hosting. Instead,
Retired. Retired radio pro.
someone who logs in as Scoops Man will be hosting. Nick, why don't you tell the people real quick who you are and why they should listen to you?
Nick Schwerdt, um, red-blooded American. Love Kansas sports. Love Kansas football.
That's so
Used to
unique.
work in radio, but I hung it up,
6'10".
man. I hung up the headphones
You've
for
covered a lot
greener
of KU.
pastures.
You've covered a lot of KU sports. You've been in press conferences. You've delivered objective, steamy takes. You've been
Mm.
around the program. You've seen the inner workings, and you're also one of us. You're now out of the game and just can be a KU fan again.
You know, you never really quit the game. You know, the game sticks
That's
with
true.
you your whole
Hence this
life.
podcast. Yeah,
Yeah, there's only one way out, right? There's only one way out of the game, but I'm happy to be in the space I'm at now. And I feel like you said my takes that I've delivered are steamy. I think they're only getting steamier. They're getting a little mustier now that I'm officially out of the game and I can do this podcast with you every single week.
that is oddly like arousing to me. What should people listen to me? Should I do mine?
Yeah, why don't you give us the Mike Vernon 101 here real quick?
Why don't you give us the Mike Vernon 101?
Actually, that
You
that
do
would be
it.
way funnier, yeah, if we
Yeah, yeah.
introed each other. So Mike's an interesting cat. Who is Mike Vernon? What is Mike Vernon? Well, former Big J journalist, but he handed in his typewriter for a life in tech, right? He is the
Yeah.
forefront of technology, but he's still got that itch, right? We've all
I
got
couldn't
that
let it
itch
go.
that
You
that
said there's only
needs to
one way
be
out.
scratched. Yeah, there is only one way out, and he thought he was out, but just when he thought he
I
was,
couldn't, could not
we brought him back
escape
in.
it. I specialize in
Now I would
scoops.
say you're in it more than you've ever been in your life in a weird roundabout way.
In a weird way, maybe. I mean, it was like my full-time job for a long time.
This
So,
seems to be
no.
more fulfilling for you. What you have
Yeah, for
delved
sure.
into the
Yes.
last couple of years
Yes.
seems to be much more
I love
meaningful.
this. I get to talk about what I want with Kansas when I want and really be very genuine with KU fans and just try to keep us informed, and yeah, it's really fun. I don't know. I don't want to like do a high horse soapboxy thing. So here's what a little bit today we're going to do some KU football talk. A lot of KU football talk. The season is here. It is a, as Jalen Daniels would say, new era. We are here. We're going to do some maybe would you rather's for the season. Can Jalen Daniels win the Heisman? That's a discussion. NCAA punishments are coming for Kansas
Oh.
basketball. We'll touch on that. The world is expanding. Johnny Furphy is a Jayhawk. How we're betting week one, and all the takes that are going to
No,
come
and
with
then
that.
no, then at
Should
the
I?
end you say, and no, at the end you always say, and much, much more.
And much, much more. Sorry,
Yeah.
not again,
Yeah.
not a pro.
And I could be wrong. You guys could look at this. And I could be wrong on this. I could be wrong. And I could be wrong. I could be wrong. I could be wrong on that. You'd have to ask him. But
KU football season. Missouri State, Friday night at the booth. Expectations. What do you, real quick, what do you want to see Friday night? Like, what are your hopes and dreams Friday night, the booth?
I want the Hawks to steamroll this FCS program that's getting paid to drive a few hours across the state line and then send them home licking their wounds. I will accept nothing less than sheer and utter dominance because new era, like if this really is going to be a new era of Kansas football, then like I don't want to talk about the way things used to be for the first game of the season against an FCS opponent. I don't want to talk about scratching and clawing. I want an absolute drubbing on Friday night. I want this game to set Missouri State's football program back. By the way, did you know that Bobby Petrino was the coach of Missouri State last year?
I did not know that. What, last year?
Not anymore. Yeah, he is now the coordinator at Texas A&M.
A&M.
But he was the head coach for Missouri State, and he ran. He saw Kansas coming up on the schedule, and he said, "No, I'm not sticking around for that."
Yeah, he got out on his motorcycle.
This program back worse than Bobby Petrino could have possibly set them back. I want them to consider canceling the program after Friday night. Like, there's just nothing. There's nothing to do here.
I'm glad that our expectations as a fan base and as a podcast duo will be reasonable. I'm glad we're really setting a good
if you think that I'm going to get if you think I'm going to get any more reasonable between now and the end of the episode, or for that matter, now and the end of the season, you're sorely mistaken.
Am I the reasonable one?
You are, today you might be.
Whoever's
if there was ever a time to be unreasonable, it's right now.
Season expectations.
Yes, of course.
No, I want like a 14-0 lead and then just show nothing in the playbook.
That's so competence. That sucks.
I want competence. I want like Nick Saban competence.
This is horrible.
I am the worst.
Don't be reasonable.
Long term. I will be reasonable. That's
Don't
what I want.
Show anything. Why?
We are the podcast that shows it. We show
it. We show it all of it. Yes. Show it all, right. Lance. Show it all, Coach K. The real Coach K. Show it all. Show a lot of it.
All right, let's do the season. Expectations for this year. I want to do a little happy, sad.
Okay, in all sincerity.
All right.
Do you want to lay our expectations up at the top, or do we kind of tease it? Do we kind of sensually dance around it before we put actual numbers to it?
No, we'll put numbers later. Numbers later. So, happy, sad.
So you want to be a pretty girl in the cocktail dress on the dance floor, just kind of like, ooh, show you a little leg.
Yeah.
Ooh, no.
Yes.
You're gonna have to work for that.
Yes, and then at the end, we show it all. Okay.
So what is this happy, sad game that you have?
All right. I'll be happy if KU football blank. I'll be sad if KU football blank. Just fill in the blanks. I'll be happy if this happens. I'll be sad if this happens. Where's the line? That's what I'm going for.
I almost am going back to week 5 of last season when Kansas had, or maybe they'd just beaten Duke, right? College game day, all of a sudden, like taking the college football world by storm. And I think even some more reasonable Kansas fans at that point were thinking like, hey, there's no reason to tamper expectations. Like this team looks like they have a dynamic playmaking quarterback. They have a head coach who's like an adult in the room for the first time in a decade.
Competent.
There's a staff who knows what they're doing. They know how to develop players. They know how to run a program. Jalen Daniels gets injured. Things kind of fell apart there down the stretch, but got the 6th win, went to a bowl game. Even though they lost, it felt like that bowl game was a win for the program, if that makes sense. And that's not even like taking moral victories. That is simply taking perspective of where you've been over the last 12 years. That felt like a win heading into the offseason saying, okay, there's a lot to build on here. So I will be happy if Kansas continues to build on that this year. And I think in a tangible way, I want to see this team win 8 games. Like I don't want to see this team fighting for bowl eligibility. That to me should not be the conversation going into the season. If we're talking about like, hey, will Kansas make a bowl? Like that's too low. That's too low of a bar to set for this team that returns basically everyone from a year ago.
So 6 wins, you're like kind of bummed.
I'm sad. No, I'm sad. Straight up sad.
Okay. I see it differently. Where I agree, the bowl game was a win last year. The biggest and most important part of that bowl game, to me, is the extra practice time that comes with it. That makes a huge difference going forward. And that is what I want to keep things in line. I think we need to keep expectations in line. I know we're coming at this from very different viewpoints, which I didn't expect. I thought we were like-minded guys healing the world. I will be happy if KU football is playing in a bowl game, and I'll be sad if they're not. It's that simple. We've got to keep expectations in line as a fan base.
Why?
I think it is only fair to the staff, the coaches, the players. Why? Because look at where we've come.
Yeah, reasonable bowl game.
Look at where KU football has come from. Yeah, bowl game. That's it. That's all I want to see. I will be happy if it happens. It's sad if it doesn't. There were a few games last year where KU football was lucky. The Iowa State game, bit of luck there. Now, the last 12 years, a lot of horrendous luck. So I don't really feel that there's like this regression to the mean. I actually think it's continued. Like KU still has owed some good ones, but I think the line should be 6 wins. That's right where Vegas set it. And that is my line as a fan, that it's bowl game. That is how the program continues to move forward, and that's what's most important. Long-term success.
Okay, so you know the teaser video, the edit from the Step Brothers Prestige Worldwide that we put out on social media over the weekend, right?
Yeah.
At the beginning of that clip, which we didn't include in the video that we put out, at the beginning of that scene, Derek, played by Adam Scott, right, the douchey brother, he looks to Robert, and in something that was not caught on scene, it's one of my favorite lines from this movie. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get it out, but he says, "Robert, you showed a lot of this and a lot of these. You're not showing any of these, Mike. Where are your cojones to say that a bowl win, which, I mean, literally,
I didn't say
going
win.
to a...
I didn't say win.
Exactly. And I'm glad you corrected me there. Going to a bowl game is simply
show it.
Repeating what you did last year. I want to see this team build upon what they did last year. And I'll tell you why specifically. I have one reason why. I talked about like returning everyone. Bill Conley of ESPN does this every single year. He does S&P, like it's a predictive model for college football, right? I'm not getting into it, so don't even try to do that shit to me. He very simply measures returning production in college football every single year, like 1 through 100 and however many D1 college football teams there are. Kansas is number one in the country. There is not a college football team that brings back more from last season than Kansas does. And if Lance Leipold is the guy we all think he is, great head coach, great program builder, winner everywhere he goes, knows how to develop talent, the expectation should be that you having an advantage of bringing everyone back from last year should lead to more player development, better talent, more wins, not just competing for a bowl game again.
I'm putting glasses on. If you're just listening,
I hate you. Yeah, you look like an asshole.
Bill Connolly or Ken Palm, I'm putting glasses on. Yeah, I look like an asshole. I don't care because building is consistency for KU. That's what's been missing. I just want consistency. Keep it moving. Long-term success. New booth. There's a real chance KU is better and wins fewer games this year. Like, that is a real thing that could happen.
Oh my God.
That is the most ridiculous thing. You think that's sustainable?
They could be better and lose more.
Yes.
That's what you're saying.
That is not only what I'm saying, it is the absolute truth.
I don't like your vibes right now, straight up. Straight up, like, I don't like the vibes that you're giving off right now.
Bad time. All right, we'll come back to our game by game.
You're toxic. You're a toxic Kansas fan. That's what you are.
I want to be realistic through. You're setting yourself up for KU football fans to be disappointed. That's not what we need.
I like setting goals and achieving them. I'm sorry. If that makes me a dreamer, so be it.
All right. We're in a new position as KU football fans, clearly. Like, I'm going to be freaking out week 2, the Illinois game, like losing my mind. I don't know, as a KU football fan, the last time I totally felt this way going into a year. We're like, I know week 2 is going to be, you'll feel do or die for that bowl win. So it's going to be a long season in our lives, and it's going to impact those around us. It's going to impact our
in
loved
a negative
ones.
way?
Maybe. It depends how you handle it. Handling it is key.
Yeah, how are you going to handle this?
Key.
Because I know that you've said that your wife is not like a sports fan, right? And she has sort of a rudimentary understanding of what it is that you do online with your newsletter and Kansas State fans sending you vitriol on an almost daily basis. So how do you plan on handling this now, knowing that these sorts of conversations of like, hey, I'm going to be busy for the next couple of months, those for Kansas fans, usually, that's what I'm saying. Like, usually for Kansas fans, that didn't start until November when basketball season rolls around. Now it's starting September, and you've got to rationalize this to your loved ones.
Yes. Yeah. So we're talking about like Saturdays and college basketball.
Well, Fridays too. Now we got Fridays too. You got to explain to them how I thought college football was on Saturdays. Well, it is, but there's also some Friday games as well. So pretty much my whole weekend's spoken for.
Yeah. And normally for KU fans, I feel like it's January to March for Saturdays. Like, that's when the consistent college basketball every Saturday you expect a game. So really, okay, let's say during the course of a year, instead of January to March or April, we're talking September 1 to March or April. It is vicious. And I've always been envious of college football fans can just be like, I need 15 days. That's all you're asking for. I want 15 days in the year. 365, I need 15.
But it turns out, those days, those are high value days.
Oh yeah.
September Saturdays.
Fall Saturdays, yeah.
Fall Saturdays, outside
Gone.
of college football are generally like very pleasant days in many parts of the country. So people in your life
Yeah,
that
for
aren't
non-college football
fans,
Yeah.
they want to do other
Yeah.
things to enjoy those days. And you're like, actually, my fall days, if you live in Kansas, like they're going to be spent in Lawrence. If you live like elsewhere, like you and I, like, sorry, I'm going to be parked on the couch. It's 70 and sunny and nice out. And there's all these things we could do. Have fun, right? Like have a great Saturday.
So that's
I'll be
where,
right here.
That's where we got to set expectations. We're asking instead of 15 days for maybe like 50 this year as a KU fan. So I
A lot of
think
days.
communication is so important in this. Expectation setting, so important. Nick, you recently moved in with your partner, significant other. I'm giving you
Yes.
some tips and tricks as someone who fails at this every year. So,
Okay, what's step one? Where do I start with these conversations?
one idea, make it about we. We have a big season ahead.
We're a team.
We are cheering that we are so excited. We are so excited. So when that fails, inevitably at 9 a.m. on Saturday, and it's 70 out, and your partner, he or she, wants to do anything else, have a nice day. Making it
That'll
about
go
we
over well.
probably
Yeah.
fails. Number 2, fake an injury or illness. I think injury, so we have a prolonged situation.
Yeah, I was about to say, how often can I be ill? At once a week? Up, tummy's acting up again.
Fake COVID on the first Saturday of the year. Long COVID.
Wow,
Fake long
yeah,
COVID.
prolonged.
Fake long COVID.
I thought that was a hoax.
Maybe, yeah. Get the booster first Saturday of the year, maybe Friday, and then get it again the next one. No,
what
I
about
say
actually sustaining like a debilitating injury, like actually breaking my
hurting
foot?
yourself? Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
like
yeah. Ooh, that's a good one.
purposefully
Stomping.
putting myself in harm's way.
I was just going to say fake it, like fake a stress fracture.
No, I think you really need to commit. Like if you're going to go all in on this, if you really want this to work the way you need it to, like I think actually fracturing
If you were
your
to
leg.
fake an injury to watch college football this year, how would you do it?
If I was going to fake an injury?
No, sorry. If you were going to actually injure yourself.
Man, it's tough because you want it to be as painless as possible, which is sort of counterintuitive to the idea of actually sustaining an injury. But I think the idea would be that you want the injury to last for a prolonged period of time. Like it can't be
Stress
something
fracture.
that's only going to and it's got to be lower body, right? It's just like a football player. Like if you can run, you can play. Like if I can walk, I can go to the farmer's market. You know what I mean?
Farmer's market is exactly what I'm talking about, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like I hit close to home there with that one.
Yeah. Maybe drop a hammer on your foot.
That's not enough, man. Like simply having a bloody toenail.
Stress fracture. You can stress fracture.
But you don't want to have to do it multiple times. Like if you don't get the fracture the first time, then you've got to go back and do it a second time. And it's still going to hurt even if you don't fracture it.
Here it is. Bad shoes, just go running for as long as you can run. Take out the
break
insole.
Your foot?
Take out the insole and just freaking run until your foot shatters. And you need to recover because you were trying to be healthy.
If I jumped off the 3rd-story balcony of my apartment, like I wouldn't die from that, right? It would just hurt really bad.
You need some padding, but yeah, that's a good.
Maybe I'll go down. Maybe I'll go down to the 2nd floor.
Yeah, I think the 2nd floor is good. You got to explain it.
I fell. I was trying to clean, trying to clean some stuff off the side.
Yeah, that's good.
Oops. So yeah, I'm going to be, obviously
right.
I'm not going to be able to go to the farmer's market, as you understand, with, giant cast on my leg. So I'll probably, you know what, you go have fun. Like, I don't want to ruin your Saturdays, But, for the next couple months, I'll probably just be hanging out on the couch on Saturdays. I'll see if there's
That's really
football
good.
on. I don't know. Do they still play football on Saturdays? I guess I'll just watch
I
that.
think I'm going to take up college football.
Yeah.
Okay,
Something
so
to pass the time.
I was going to say fake an injury, but you've convinced me. Sustaining a real injury is probably your best option. Looking ahead, looking at the schedule, and buying some gifts for her to do things, or him, for he or
Experiences.
she, to do things on biggest days of the year. KU K-State Day. I'm looking ahead. KU Texas. Spa day planned.
A vineyard, like a vineyard experience, like a wine tasting tour, something along those lines.
Museum for you and your friend. I want you to have a day.
Museum.
Art.
We ran out of good ideas very quickly. By idea 3, we're already not operating at a high level.
You don't like art? Andy Koltanicki's offense? That is art, my friend.
That's art. That's a true artist at work. I'm sorry that I'm cultured and I like taking this in.
My actual best advice is to just, while communication and expectation setting is important, just don't pretend like it's not happening. And then 4 or 5 weeks into the year, then you address it. Just ignore it as long as you can. Let it fester.
And then
that's my relationship advice.
I was about to say that's the opposite of how this started. You started this whole conversation talking about communication and being open and transparent.
But we want to watch football.
Right. And if all else fails, then just hide it.
Pretend
keep it
it's
a secret
not
for as long as possible and deny it. And then worst comes to worst, you just say, you know what? This is what I'm going to do. This is my life now.
What do you mean?
You could do
football. What do you
pretend? You could do. You could. I think you start donating to the Williams Fund. And then you can officially categorize yourself as a donor. And then you treat it as an investment. You're like, I'm investing in this university. I'm investing in this program. They have a new football stadium they want to build. I need to monitor my investment.
What about
it's now charity? This is setting you guys up financially. We want to be linked to this program. I need to make sure they're doing well.
Yeah, you get a great ROI for investing in college sports. NIL, just do charity or something. All right, you were going to talk about Andy Koltanicki's art, and I need to hear this.
Okay, well, he is an artist, right? He is what do they call him? The Mad Hatter, the Mad Scientist.
No, we already have the Mad Hatter.
The way that he. Oh yeah, eek. The Mad Scientist, I believe it was. They talk players will talk about the way that this guy, comes up with schemes and drawing up new plays each week. And that's part of the reason why Jalen Daniels, for the first month and a half of last season, looked like a legit Heisman candidate. And I don't even say that as crimson and blue glasses fan. He was legitimately, I think, 5th or 6th in the Heisman odds after that Duke game. He's a legitimate Heisman candidate this season, correct? Am I crazy? Am I crazy thinking that this guy could actually compete for the Heisman if he's healthy? You're talking about last year, if you take those first 5 games, the first 4 games, and you extrapolate that out for an entire season, you're talking about a guy who's accounting for over 40 touchdowns. If this guy
got a Heisman vote.
I do have a Heisman vote. It's not a big deal. I want to make that perfectly clear. I'm still a normal guy. I put my pants on the same way as everybody else does. It's just that when I put my pants on, I sit down at the end of the season and I submit a Heisman ballot, just like everybody else.
Our Google Doc for this episode was titled, "Mike, please mention that I have a Heisman vote."
I really don't like talking about it, honestly, because I just want people to treat me the same.
So you asked if Daniels is a real Heisman candidate. Right.
Well, if you think they're just competing for a bowl game, you can't also think that he's going to be a Heisman candidate, right?
I said that's I will be happy if it happens. Yeah, he is a Heisman candidate. The offense returns everyone. He's put up huge numbers before. He is extremely talented. And the way the schedule shapes, there is a real world in which, okay, you beat Missouri State, you beat Illinois, you beat Nevada, like, very possible. You beat BYU at home. You're 4-0 going to Austin, Texas, and like that Heisman talk will be simmering. It'll be bubbling. The pot is on. The stove is turned up. The kitchen is hot. And depending on what happens in Austin, like that could, it's not the same, but you need a signature win to get that Heisman. You need to vault yourself onto the national scene in order to break through. Johnny Manziel beating Bama, right? That's like the most obvious
that's
one.
That's the most obvious example of it. Yeah.
That is his version of that. KU's version of that.
Well,
is probably going 5-0 and beating UT in Austin, right?
Well, I would say this though. Yeah, I would say this. And last year, like it's not the same as A&M beating Bama with Manziel, but last year Caleb Williams won it basically the last week of the season when USC beat UCLA.
Yeah.
But his stats were so undeniably good that even though USC wasn't a legit national championship contender, the numbers were so outrageous that you couldn't deny him. But each of the last 2 years, really, Caleb Williams last year with USC, Bryce Young the year before at Alabama, both of those guys won the award the last week of the season. Like going into the last week, I think 2 years ago, CJ Stroud was ahead of Bryce Young, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
So I do think that the signature wins for Kansas are important, or for Jalen Daniels are important, but ultimately you've got to sustain it. And unless Kansas is like an 8-win team, he doesn't have a realistic Kansas, his numbers have to be good. We know that. But the team has to be, I think, at least an 8-win team for him to be considered. Because if you have great numbers and you go 7-5, I'm sorry, they're just going to find a guy who's on a 10-win team or an 11-win team that has similar numbers.
Yeah. So that's my ultimate take is that you've got to convince a national audience to vote for him so he can be a candidate and in the conversation. I just have a hard time seeing a world in which Jalen Daniels in Kansas gets national voters, people in the South, in the East, or people in the West to vote for him. It just feels so unlikely to ultimately get a first place vote. It just,
yeah. I mean, the odds are against him unless
obviously
Kansas can really take a leap forward. Can we go back to this actually? Because I want to give you a chance to clarify what we were talking about at the beginning about expectations for KU this year, or what you would be happy with, right? You said you would be happy if they go to a bowl game. Do you think it's reasonable to expect or hope that Kansas takes a leap forward next year? I know you said having consistency would make you happy, but do you at least
been missing?
No, I get that. I'm saying, do you see the path for this team making a massive leap from what they did a year ago? Do you see the path to this being an 8-win team or a 9-win team and making noise for 4 months in the Big 12?
The path is totally there. It's going to be really hard. The schedule is not easy. I think the margin of error is going to be so thin that I just think it's yes, I see the path, but I still feel the bar for me is 6 wins. And I really want to keep that. I think that is the good season, bad season. That's the switch to me. And yes, the path forward is there. 7, 8 is very possible. Is there that big of a difference for you between 6 and 8 wins? I guess.
Yeah, because I just think, if I were to give you the elevator pitch of how last season went, it would be that they were shot out of a cannon the first month and a half. Quarterback gets injured. All of a sudden, the work starts to show.
Receivers get hurt.
Right.
Yeah.
Of course. But that's the elevator pitch, right? Started hot, cooled off, got an extra win, got to bowl eligibility, gave you an insanely entertaining bowl game, where you didn't quite win. But like that's kind of the elevator pitch of how last season went. And so I don't want there to be a very similar recap for this season. If you told me at the end of this season, I said they looked really good at times, but still maybe a year away, I would say, okay, like that's fine. Like I'll take it.
Mistake.
But I want more. Like I want them to continue building. If Lance Leipold is a program builder and you've got all this returning production and you have a dynamic quarterback, which as we know is the biggest difference maker in college sports. If you have a top 10, top 15 player in the country quarterback, which Jalen Daniels looked like for a month and a half last year, like if you can give me that for 4 months, this team will win more than 6 games. Like I think you would probably even agree with that. Like if you get that Jalen Daniels all season for 12 games, they are winning more than 6 games.
Yes, I agree with that. For me, program building is the consistency. And again, considering where we came from, I want to see us hit that note. I want to do some would you rathers. Can we do KU football would you rathers for the year? I don't know if you prep some. I have been thinking about this. I've asked some friends about this. And I think we're on the same.
You vetted the would you rathers.
Yeah. All right. Would you rather KU football have 9 wins regular season and a bowl win? So end up at 10.
That's a good bowl. You know, you're probably going to a good bowl with 9 wins.
And you win it. And then Lance Leipold leaves KU. Or 4 total wins.
And Lance Leipold stays?
And
Or
Lance
could he
Leipold
still leave
stays.
after 4?
No.
Could Lance Leipold still jet after 4 wins?
People are like,
going
hey,
4
that
and
guy's
8.
good. That guy's good.
Yeah, you know what? We're going to buy low. Give me the 9 wins. Give me the 9 wins. Listen, I'll tell you this. This was actually a topic of conversation with the Lance Leipold hire, or when they were just doing the coaching search 2 years ago. There were people talking about, like, some people were talking about, like, the age of prospective coaching candidates, in that if a guy is younger, then you could potentially have him for a longer period of time. I think that's, not only is it a mistake, and I think you would probably agree with this, it's not how athletic departments operate. It's not how Travis Goff was operating. You don't go hire a coach thinking like, could we get him for 7 years, or could we get him potentially, if we hired this guy, we could have him for 10 years. Like, that's just not how it works. And you look around college football, like how many guys are sticking around for a decade? How many current coaches have been at their job for the last 10 years? I would be really interested to see that, because I would imagine it's a very, very small number of coaches who have stuck around for that.
Do you know who the longest tenured coach in college D1 is? At the same school, I guess.
Is it Iowa?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's Kirk Ferentz.
Yeah, he's been there for a long time.
But yeah, it's extremely unusual. You take best man available. You know,
Kirk Ferentz, Nick Saban, Harbaugh's probably in the top 10 at this point.
Yeah, it's been there a while. Yeah,
but that's just it. Like, and we can all remember when Harbaugh got hired. Like, it wasn't that long ago. So, like, the idea that we need to be operating as Kansas fans, thinking about, like, how do you keep this coach as long as possible?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Gundy, yeah, he's another one.
It's a weird one.
You can't operate like that. You chase success, and you take with that whatever comes with it.
Yeah.
And if that means that your coach goes on to the next job, because the tough reality for Kansas football is that you're never going to be a destination for anyone. Like, it's really fun to dream about this becoming like a situation like a Mike Gundy, a Kirk Ferentz, a Bill Snyder, where this guy says, you know what, this is home. I'm comfortable here. I want to build something here. I'm in it for the long haul. But that's not realistic. If he continues having success at Kansas, he's going to go and take a better job. But you know what? That means you as a program are going to be in a better position than you were before you hired him. And that's a good thing. That means he did his job. He is setting you up for success. You can't chase fairy tales of just like keeping this guy here for 15 years. It's not going to happen. So if Kansas winning 9 games means that Lance Leipold gets a bigger offer from a better program, so be it. Like, that's what success looks like in college football.
I generally agree. And I just want to add, if KU fans want to keep Lance Leipold around, show up to the games. That's the most important. Like, he's going to want to see the support, like physically butts and seats. All right. That was a good would you rather answer. I've got another one.
Can we take a timeout real quick before we get to the next one?
Yeah.
We're about at the halfway point of this podcast, so I just wanted to like get a quick like halftime interview going into the locker. How do you think you're doing as the host of this first episode? Like, how would you sort of evaluate your performance in the first half?
We didn't guard nobody. We didn't guard nobody. I think I got to play some defense on you. You're going. We're 40 minutes in. We got to pick up the pace. Though some good bits. I've laughed. I cried. We've argued. We've agreed. We disagreed. Yeah. We showed it.
It's had it all.
So
yeah, we did. We showed a lot of it.
Oh.
All right. What's your next would you rather? Do you have more for me?
That was good. Yeah. Jalen Daniels wins the Heisman, or KU football makes the playoff and loses in the semifinal.
Playoff. Are you kidding me? Like what you're basically presenting is TCU last year. Max Duggan, Heisman finalist, didn't win the Heisman. TCU goes to the college football playoff. And yes, they got absolutely skull-fucked by Georgia in the national championship game. But you know what? They went there. They went there. They went to the college football playoff. They were on the biggest stage in college football. Like, that is awesome for that program.
I'm curious to see how it launches them going forward. I'm almost leaning the other way. And I think A&M...
But you know what? If you told me he won the Heisman, that means they're still winning a lot of games. They're just not
9-10 games. So what means more to long-term success for KU? It might be Jalen winning the Heisman. Look at what trajectory Baylor was on with Art Briles after RG3's Heisman. A&M obviously had the huge boost from Manziel's. Winning a Heisman is almost like a weird playoff win in itself. Like, I almost think it could help KU longer in the way that they could recruit long-term more. So that's a weird... it's been tough. I've really actually thought about this. Next one. Beating Texas or beating Kansas State this year?
So if you beat Texas, in all likelihood, you're beating them. You're beating them the final time you're playing them as a conference foe.
Yep.
Which would be sweet. And you don't know, like, if or when you'll ever play them again. I imagine they'll play at some point, but it might be a long time.
And it'll be funny.
It would be funny, but I feel like I've tasted that before.
Yep.
Which makes me want to lean K-State. It's been a while. It's been a while since you've been able to say, we got the best of our in-state rival. Like, I get that you're gonna have an infinite amount of opportunities to beat Kansas State, but in the here and now, not knowing like what the future of Kansas football looks like, and knowing that Kansas State is seemingly always competent and better than you, if you could just tell me in a 1-year vacuum, we're going to get the best of you, I think I would take that.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. We've done the Texas thing. It's awesome. What means more to the program long-term? What shows improvement, I think, as a program? It would be planting that flag in the ground in Lawrence, Kansas this year, late in the season, beating Kansas State, and just having a lot of fun.
It would be a lot of fun.
It would be a lot of fun. Those are my would you rather.
It would be a great day for the internet if Kansas were able to beat Kansas State in football.
Oh, they'd be panicked. Do you have any for me, by the way? It's okay if not.
No.
Okay. I didn't think so. I wanted to make sure.
And honestly, and quite frankly, I don't appreciate you asking, because I think you knew I didn't have any for you and we could have just moved on. But the fact that you asked it makes it seem like I'm unprepared, which is not the case. And I feel like maybe you were trying to sabotage me a little bit, and I don't appreciate it.
I will try to make you look bad at all costs.
Yeah, I don't really like the vibes I'm getting from you today. Just like kind of pessimistic, KU fan. You're kind of like backstabbing me along the way. You want to be the host.
I'm
right?
the scoops man.
Now you're the host of the show. Like, this is your show now. I guess I'm just along for the ride.
This week I'm the host. I've got these crazy shadows coming in my house too. Do you want?
Yeah, not great. That's not exactly how they would like instruct you to set up lighting for a video show.
How's this?
Yeah, that's much better. Yeah, get as close as possible. Like, I don't want your full face to fit in the camera frame.
I'm not going to keep leaning in.
NCAA punishments.
Yeah.
You're all over that. I know you have been enduring some sleepless nights lately, trying to figure out exactly what these punishments are going to look like. Fans have been waiting for 5 years.
Longer.
And we've made them wait for an additional 40 minutes of this episode. So I want you to just tell me what these are going to look like. What is the finality of this saga going to look like for Kansas basketball?
We're in the final days. Punishment it's going to be here soon. I think next week, or I thought it was going to be this week for a while. I'm reading tea leaves. I now think next week, but predicting what happens with the NCAA is nearly impossible. What you want to know what the punishments are probably going to look like? I don't think there will be anything that severely hampers KU from going forward and operating as a full basketball program beyond the scholarship hit they took. The independent group deciding these have, hit schools with some fines. Assistants who have been directly tied to money or illicit payments have been punished sternly. Most coaches have not. I don't think anything serious comes of it. My worst case scenario has been vacating games in 2018 in which Silvio De Sousa played. That would include a Final Four. I don't even think that happens right now. That's my worst case.
No banners are coming down. You're not having to give up any losses. Lose any wins.
If I had to bet, I would say that the NCAA cleared De Sousa. Historically speaking, it wouldn't matter if a player is declared retroactively ineligible. Those games are vacated. There are different people deciding punishments than what we're used to historically. I think that they will say KU knew, or he was cleared. So why punish KU for that after reporting it and handling it? This whole case against KU relies on the idea that Adidas is a booster. It makes no sense considering how long the NCAA has known about apparel companies in college sports and how little education, guidance, warning, and notice was given to these schools. Hasn't happened for Louisville, hasn't happened for NC State. Similar cases decided by similar people. There are no violations you can tie self to if Adidas isn't a booster. That's it.
The hand wringing. If you're right, the hand wringing on this is going to be pretty wide reaching.
Well, that's
just hearing about the way that this has been talked about, and it's almost not even like a Kansas thing. I'm just tired of talking about this topic because it has moved at a snail's pace ever since, the day those guys stood up in front of the Southern District of New York.
We have your playbook.
We have your playbook. And it just had like the it had like the chart of like boosters, shoe money, players. It was just
oh my God.
This was your big, and that day was a really big holy shit moment. Like, oh my God, this is going to change the landscape of college basketball. And here we are 5 years later, and it's like, what has changed?
Nothing has changed.
This whole thing about?
Well, I guess it's legal now, but what frustrates me, and my sleepless nights are not about figuring out what the penalties are. I have been working on really what I hope is going to be an awesome story. It's as hard as I've ever worked on one story, or it'll be a series is how I'll probably release it if I can land this plane. What has happened here, what took so long, and why people are have been confused about this, I think, ultimately, when punishments have been so light. KU's notice of allegations in the understanding of what happened is so far from what I think ultimately will be proven and decided that yes, there will be hand wringing. And I think it is due to a misunderstanding and a repeating of allegations as fact that aren't the case. It just simply isn't the case. So I don't know if that made sense to you, but I've got a lot coming on it. And I think there's a wild misunderstanding of how this all went down and why KUs should be punished when they aren't. 5 level 1 violations. No.
I'm excited.
It's
I'm
stupid.
excited to see this.
Oh,
I'm excited to see your breakdown. I'm excited to see what the actual punishments are. But more than anything, I'm excited to, see the reaction of Pat Forty and Dan Wolken and Dan Wetzel. I feel bad for them. I feel bad for what they're going to go through because I know this has been a tough go the last couple of years.
I've got a lot of respect for Wetzel especially, but I think that
I do too. Actually, I've talked to Wetzel. Wetzel's like, I've had Wetzel on my podcast a few times.
He's awesome.
A former podcast. I like Wetzel. Wolken, 40. No. I mean, I do like that Dan Wolken's not a prude, and I think that's important to remember. He's the farthest thing from a prude.
Furthest, yeah. We're pro not being prude.
There's nobody who is into sex more than Dan Wolken.
The guy plays the role of cop, like sports cop on Twitter too. It's so funny. Yeah, they got this wrong. That's my belief. And they're going to say, well, we didn't get to see there were a lot of sealed documents in court, and we don't know the whole thing. Those docs were sealed for a reason, and you can read what the judge said, and it's basically either out of context or gossip that shouldn't count as fact and be decided in a court case. And it's just very frustrating to see this idea. KU is the only case in this where there's no coach directly tied to taking money or giving or receiving money. That's why the Adidas as a booster is so important to KU's case, because without it, Self isn't responsible for any of it. So it's really unique. I don't think that story has been told. I've got one that's good. Like, KU has been hit with aggravating factors, which say like some external circumstances that should make the penalties worse. One of them is that like 5 of the 6 cases were, a history of level 1 or level 2, big violations is an aggravating factor here. 5 of the 6 are more than 32 years old, like as them being a history of factors. So sorry, I'm going long here. I got a lot more coming. This is not what it seems. That is what I'm going to say. All right. Think we covered it?
Yeah, I mean,
this is not what
it's so tough. Well, you know what's difficult about like this whole conversation is that, and I feel like most people would probably agree with me, that it began so long ago. Like, for one story to take this long to reach its conclusion, how I feel, and I would imagine a lot of people feel this way, is that like I don't even remember how it began. I don't remember most of the stuff that happened along the way. So it's almost like I need a complete refresher of this story because I'm not even sure like what's at stake here. Is this a Billy Preston thing? Is this a Silvio D'Souza thing?
Yes.
Is this a Curtis Townsend thing? Is this a TJ guy? Like, what are the big, like, but you know what I'm saying? Like, so much has happened over such a long period of time.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, oh, yeah, I kind of remember this story. Yeah, fill me in. Why don't you run through it one time real quick?
That's part of, I think, the punishment in this case. Justice delayed is justice like delivered in KU's case. This 6-year delay, this inability to get a resolution because of the NCAA's doing. Fingers have been pointed at the independent group. It's the NCAA's doing. That has been the punishment here. And the public's belief that the notice of allegations are fact. And 6 years later, they'll go, wait a minute, I was told this happened. I have been sat here for 6 years. That is sunk into my brain as fact. There's a lot more coming. I want to do some like podcasts and when all this comes out. It'll be good. I think we got to be ready.
Are we doing this again? Are we doing this podcast again after today? I was under the assumption this was like a one-time deal.
Yeah.
Just
hello.
Yeah,
goodbye.
I mean, I'm not committing long term, so I apologize if I gave you that, the vibe that I was like in this.
You know who did commit long term? I know you're excited.
Here we go.
I know you're
Here we
excited.
go.
I'm pivoting.
Let's go.
Johnny Furphy,
Let's
KU Hoops.
Go.
Can you just give me I just go quick hit. Why are you excited for the Furf?
Well, Furf Dog. Happy Furf Day for all who celebrate. Furf Dog, my boy.
We are the number one Kansas basketball Johnny Furphy fan podcast.
Here's my biggest question about Johnny Furphy, and I don't feel like anyone's asking this. And it's so obvious to me. Do you think that 3 seasons at Kansas would be enough for him to get his jersey retired? Or is it going to be one of those scenarios where it's like, well, if he comes back for a senior season, then that would cement his legacy. But 3 years, it might be more of like a what if. Because he will be a superstar, and I would imagine a lottery pick. The question is, does he take an extra year of seasoning, or is it a one and done situation? Listen, man. Johnny Furphy is my favorite Kansas basketball player of all time. And I understand you saying, okay, how could you say that? You've never seen him play, which truly never seen him play. Not even never seen him play in terms of, oh, this was a high school recruit. All you have is AAU footage. We don't even have that, man. We have Zapruder film of this guy playing 2 months ago. Before that, I would assume he was created in a lab. I am to believe Johnny Furphy is a product of AI because nobody had even heard of this guy. Nobody had heard of this guy until 2 months ago. And then all of a sudden, Duke, North Carolina, Kansas wants a piece of his ass. KU lands him. 24/7 Sports comes out last week and they're like, yeah, he's a top 40 player in the class.
What?
KU got this guy at the 11th hour. You didn't see this?
No.
Michael Swain.
I know.
Michael Swain on Twitter put this out. Top 40 player in the country. And nobody was even recruiting him.
He's so hot right now.
5 months ago. Dude, this guy, he looks like Mitch from Dazed and Confused. He has a mullet. He's 6'7" or 6'9", who knows? He's got a Draco.
No one does.
He yams on people.
Yeah.
I am to his, this dude, I could not be more excited about him. And it's mostly because of the mystery. It's kind of like when Svi committed, right? When Svi committed, this kid, 16 years old from Ukraine, where did he come from? Larry Brown's calling Bill Self saying, hey, this guy's a top 10 shooter in the world right now.
Yeah.
Right now. That's a real thing that happened, by the way. Not like will be. Top 10 shooter in the world right now. That didn't end up being true, but he was a great shooter. And he hit some big shots en route to a Final Four. I'll never forget that performance he had against Grayson Allen and Duke. Dude, the mystery surrounding Johnny Furphy is why I'm so excited. If KU would have been on him for a year and he was a blue chip recruit, it still would have been cool. Wouldn't feel as cool as it feels now. The roster was set, and then you add this mysterious Aussie who is now supposedly going to be in the rotation. I am so pumped for the Johnny Furphy era to begin. And it's not fair to Hunter Dickinson. And it's not fair to Hunter Dickinson, who was, the number one college basketball transfer of all time.
Hunter would be fine.
You know what? I don't know, though. I don't know that he will, because I think he's a great basketball player, but this was supposed to sort of be his year to take over
It's
for the
Furphy's
Jayhawks. And all of a sudden, it's what the hell? I thought I was going to get all the endorsement deals. I thought I was going to be the face of the program. And then Johnny Furphy shows up on campus, and now it's
Wiggins v. Embiid. All of a sudden,
yeah, exactly.
We see Embiid go, and we're like, oh my God, this guy's better than Wiggins.
And I think that's an apt comparison, Mike, because I do think over the course of his basketball career, Johnny Furphy will have a similar impact on the sport that Joel Embiid has had and is having.
I think we ended on that. I am excited to see him play. All right. Week 1, KU. We're betting.
Missouri State.
Yeah, I know. I did this weird pause.
Hey, Listen here. DraftKings, FanDuel, BetMGM, you cowards. Spineless. Release the line.
Give us a line.
Release the line.
Yeah.
Give us a line. I don't care that Missouri State's an FCS opponent. That's your job. Like, do your job. I'm doing my job. Mike's doing his job. Do your job.
Look at me.
Release. Like, look at. Hey.
Look at me.
I'm talking to you.
It.
Release the line, because I will bet it. And if I have to go offshore bookie, so be it.
What are you going to look for?
I'm betting this damn game.
Like, what are you looking for? An over/under, a team total, a player prop, all of it?
I mean, if I could get a player prop on Devin Neal week 1, I don't know what that line would be, but I'm taking the over on rushing yards. Devin Neal, I think, for as much hype, deservedly so, as Jalen Daniels is getting, should be getting, will be getting, Devin Neal could be in store for a ridiculously impressive statistic season. Like, I could see this guy absolutely going off for 12 games. You got to think about the type of recruit this guy was, the type of athlete that he is. I mean, this guy's prototype. Running back, like if you could build a running back in a lab, like it would look a little bit, well, it would look like Bijan Robinson. But then if like that lab went under and
you just
start a
did
new
Johnny
lab
Furphy
and build a
in
new
lab.
type of player.
KU's apparently got a lab. Brady Morningstar is running a lab on campus. we're gonna get violations in a year that AI and Brady Morningstar created.
It's experimental. It's experimental technology, but we're at the forefront of it.
Gotta win.
What are you looking for? What do you want to bet?
Yeah, I'll be looking for normally like first quarter and first half over-unders is probably what I'll try to sneak something in at. I just don't know when they're gonna like call off the dogs if this goes the way that you've been talking about how KU is gonna be. Like they're gonna want to not run Neal a ton. So that's where I get scared in this situation. So I'll be looking for some first half numbers because that's what I think will play true to the line.
So you think the game's over by halftime is what you're really saying?
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
I hope.
Hell
I don't know. Yeah, yes, that's what I'll be looking for at least. I did check the weather. I'm a big weather better, which I'll get to in a moment. But looks like it'll be a toasty day, but a nice evening. Limited wind.
What's the humidity level?
Limited wind.
That could affect how the ball flies,
Wind. By the way, are you a good college football bettor? Because like you've been wanting.
Yeah.
Like
hell we're gonna bet. Dude.
You're good at it? Are you?
Yeah. Yeah. No. Last year, I had when I was doing radio. Me and one of the other producers had
a Heisman vote.
A season long. I do have a Heisman vote, and that's like again not a big deal. And I don't bet on the Heisman, and I never will. So don't even go there. But last year, one of the producers and I, we had a season-long college football pick'em competition, pick 5 games each week. I think I hit like 67% last year. It was a really good year. Yeah. Like really, really good season.
All right, well, I'm tailing the shit out of you. Okay, what do you have? Do you want to do favorite week 1 bets? Do you want to go 1-1, or do you want to run through your list?
Yeah, how many do you have?
I have placed money on 4 games thus far, and I also have like some things I'll be watching for.
Okay, I have 4 as well. I had 5, but in an act of solidarity, I will be removing one of those bets and sticking with my top 4.
Do 5.
No, I won't do it. I won't do it. And that's the end of that.
Okay.
I'm trying to link us together. I'm trying to forge a bond. Why don't you give us your first bet?
Placed this like 3 weeks ago. North Texas. +8 at home against Cal. It's now +7, I think.
Is this bet at all predicated off your former proximity to Cal?
No. It is me looking at lines and line movement early and looking at some experts and what they jumped on early.
Do you have an algo, by the way?
No, but I want one.
Let's make one. Let's make a Could Be Wrong algo.
I'm in. Like Chat GPT will do it. We'll take your SP Plus and like just
Oh, dude, I just got it. Let's do this betting segment every week, and we'll call it. We could be wrong about these.
All right, we could be
and
wrong.
We give our betting
these.
picks.
Yeah, North Texas +8 at home. I just don't think Cal's good enough to be giving up a touchdown on the road. Plus.
Okay.
All
right. All right. First bet for me is going to be one of the first games of this slate.
Love
right?
that.
I'm not waiting till Friday. I'm not even waiting till Friday. Everyone's like, oh, college football Saturday. Oh, but there are games on Friday. Yeah, there's also games on Thursday. And my first bet is going to be Dave Doran, right? A guy that's been linked to Kansas for multiple coaching searches at NC State, -15 versus UConn. I get it. UConn took a few years off, came back last year under Jim Mora, actually looked pretty impressive. Dave Doran did a press conference last week, and he talked about something. Maybe you've heard of this, so maybe I'm going to sound dumb here. But he was talking about how the team is different this year, how they're building bonds, et cetera, et cetera. And he dropped the phrase sweat equity. He goes, the time that we've put in, the time that our guys have put in, the sweat equity. I'm just telling you right now, if your head coach is talking about sweat equity, I'm buying into whatever it is you're selling. UConn may take a step forward this year. Maybe they'll take a step westward into the Big 12 eventually. But week 1, game 1, 7:30 Eastern time, I believe. NC State -15 versus UConn. Sweat equity.
What day is this?
Hashtag sweat equity.
Is this Thursday?
This is August 31st. That's
right.
Thursday, right? Or is that Friday?
I don't know. I'm writing this with you.
Yeah.
If it's the first game, I'm not betting it. That's definitely how you win. Next one for me. TCU -20.5 at home versus Colorado and Dion. Fading.
Can I say something really quick? Can I say something really quick, and then I'll let you continue?
Talk dirty to me.
I'm also betting TCU -20.5.
Yes. It's.
Shout out Dion and shout out the Buffs. They may be good eventually, but and then TCU, by the way, lost basically everyone from that offense. The offense that got steamrolled in the national championship game. Yeah, all those guys are gone, but Colorado, as much buzz as they're getting, there's still a lot of unknowns there.
I covered Cal when Sonny Dykes was the coach there. Their offense will be fine. I'm not saying they'll be elite, but I'm just not going to – there's not a world in which he's trotting out a bad offense. Mm-hmm. I feel we as KU fans are uniquely apt to predict Colorado and understand what's going to happen to Colorado. Maybe Dion – I'm not saying that there's no substance, but there's a lot of flash, and we've seen some coaches come in with flash before. It takes a little time. So I'm on TCU, and I love that you are as well.
Yeah, so I like the solidarity there. So that's also my second pick. So I'll move on to my third pick now. Maybe my favorite bet, certainly my favorite game of the weekend, and that would be Miami, Florida, -17.5 versus Miami of Ohio. That's right, the Confusion Bowl. Miami versus Miami. I'm taking Miami. -17.5. These teams have only played 3 times, which seems like an oversight, quite frankly, that you've got 2 college football programs with identical names that have only played 3 times in the history of college football. This is time number 4. I think it's been like 40 years since they've played. I'm taking the green Miami.
You think it should be a yearly game?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right? This is just like one of those cool little things that college football should take advantage of. They should make it mandatory. The college football czars, powers that be, need to make this a mandatory yearly game.
I feel like we as people who have lived in the Midwest are uniquely understanding of this, maybe more than most, because we've all met someone who's gone to Miami and then had to explain that it's in Ohio. Oh, no, the Ohio Miami.
I just met somebody who went to Miami of Ohio last week.
It's supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be a real fun school. I think they go hard. That's my understanding.
They go hard?
Yes.
And they show it.
Yeah, they show all of it. my next one, maybe my favorite game of the weekend. I'm just kidding. You'll see why. I am on, and I have placed UMass plus 39.5 against Auburn. I am riding this UMass team. I think they had one.
Did I see you tweet about UMass
Definitely
last
not.
week?
Nope. Seriously, no. But
okay, no, I believe you. I believe you.
I think they won one game last year, and they're like supposed to be the worst.
Well, I can see why you like them.
They won 20-3 in their first game. UMass, I think they were dogged to Stony Brook. I don't even know. It doesn't matter. They won 20-3. And I'm fired up. I am riding UMass until I shouldn't anymore, which is going to be their next game against Miami of Ohio. But I'll take 39.5. Auburn calls off the dogs. UMass is putting it together. And I think there's some backdoor action, and they show it. They show all of it. Fun fact, their coach is nicknamed Dr. Blitz.
Really?
Yeah, I'm taking
Don't
Dr.
like that.
Blitz.
That actually now. See, now I hate that. I hate that. Now I hate that bet. I don't
Auburn.
like you for writing UMass now. Okay, I have two bets. I'm going to go through them quickly.
Okay.
Because I know we're a little long on time. My favorite game of the weekend. So I have a new favorite game. I know earlier I told you Miami, the Confusion Bowl was my favorite game. That was misdirection because my actual favorite game of the weekend, I didn't want you to know this was coming. Boom, now in your face. Stanford, Hawaii. And we're taking the under in that one, Mike.
Yes.
We're taking the under. I saw Hawaii played in week 0, lost to Vanderbilt, scored 28 points. 2 of those touchdowns were late when the game was over. Stanford has almost no returning production on offense. So these are 2 bad, young, inexperienced offenses. We are not going to see them hit that the over-under of 60. So I'm taking the under in that one. And then finally, in a bet, I also want to propose something to you. LSU, Jalen Daniels, Heisman hopeful at quarterback. A lot of confusion there with Jalen Daniels at LSU, Jalon Daniels at Kansas. I could see some fans getting territorial and confused over that. I want to forge an alliance with LSU. We do have a common bond with them as a program, as both of us showed Les Miles the door for making co-eds feel uncomfortable. -2.5 LSU versus Florida State, the marquee game of the week. I think LSU is a very, very nice, sort of under the radar, not really because they're a top 10 team, college football playoff pick. I like them a lot. LSU -2.5 in the game of the weekend.
Go Tigers. Go Tigers. I like that. I also am on the Hawaii Stanford under. So Timmy Chang is Hawaii's coach, by the way. Their offense is going to be good. It's going to be a windy day in Honolulu. Can't sling it around.
You can't say like that. You can't say the offense is going to be good after I just talked about how the offense was going to be bad.
No. I'm on the under with you. I think it's going to take a little more time. I'm taking the under with you. They're going to be inflated after week 1. My last play is Nebraska +7.5 at Minnesota.
Wow. You're buying Matt Rule.
Yeah, I'm just buying a Big Ten game being close. That's pretty much it. There is a level of familiarity generally, certainly with the players and programs. I'm going to take a closer game there and take the tutty. And
I respect that.
I want to see how Rule does. I respect you. Okay. So to end this, I do want to tell. Actually, this is your idea and your baby. So will you promote and share with people listening what we're going to do with this in the future? These listener takes and questions and thoughts.
All right. Yeah. Or watcher, or viewer, right? Because this is a YouTube show as well. So let's bring it in here really quick
on
the
me.
Show.
Hand up.
If you've made it this long. Yeah, it is on you because we should have brought this up earlier. And you as the host would have been kind of in charge of that. And you didn't bring it up earlier. And it's something that we're going to have to work on in practice this week is, teasing
sweat
stuff,
equity.
promoting things. Sweat
Showing
equity, we're putting in this. I actually do have a little sweat equity going on in the small of my back right now. So I'm excited to wrap this show up. But
we're at the end.
Before we do, I want to talk about this. So a lot of podcasts do listener questions, which is great. But we want to do something a little bit more. I don't want to just read your tweets. We want you to be on this show with us.
We want to show it.
We want to show all of it. Okay. So I want you to send us your videos, or if you don't want to be on camera, then send us your audio. And instead of just reading your stuff and responding to it, we're going to play it. We're going to show it. And you're going to be on the show. You're going to be hosting the show. You're going to be driving the show with us.
Yes.
And we think it's a really cool fold and a little wrinkle that we're going to add into this, but we need your submissions. So we'll put it in the link of the YouTube video. We'll put it in the link if you're following us on social media.
Yeah.
It's a really easy form. You click on the link, you put in your name, you attach your video or your audio file, and then we play it. And then we respond. And then all of a sudden, wait a minute, you're the star of the show, not us.
If we
start to get feedback from other listeners and they're saying, hey, I liked it better when that guy was on. Why don't you give him more face time? Maybe we call you back.
We'll do it.
And we say, hey, Mike didn't do a great job of hosting that first episode. Why don't you try your hand at it? Why don't you take over and let's just see what happens? So who knows where this thing could go, but I'm really excited. I'm really excited of bringing the listeners and the viewers onto the show with us.
If we pull it off, it'll be great. And it's up to all like us and you to make it work. I'm excited. You drive the show. We want people coming back on, and it's our world together as KU fans. So let's end it, Nick. You want to do game by game W or L's for KU football in a record, or just an end of season record?
I want to do week 1.
Okay.
And end of season record.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
All right.
8-4, dude. 8-4. It's my hope, and it's also my prediction. And I truly believe this, Mike, in that if you have the advantage of bringing back more returning starters, more returning production than anyone, it's an advantage only if the people that you are returning are quality players.
Yeah.
And if you couple that with a coaching staff that has continuity, that has been in a position like this before, that has a proven track record of building on previous successes, that has a proven track record of developing players and building programs, that's exactly what Kansas has. I'm not going to set my expectations short of building on what you had last year. And if you tell me that Kansas was a 6-win team with a dynamic quarterback who got injured halfway through the season, now they return that quarterback. And if I am to assume that he's going to be healthy for an entire season in his second year as the starter in this offense, I'm expecting growth. I'm expecting them to build on what they did last year. I'm expecting 8 wins. As for this first game, I want every single player in a Kansas uniform to set foot on that field. I want this to be an absolute bloodbath. Show no mercy. Yes. And show all of it. So I'm thinking I'm gonna go 45-7. I'm gonna go 45-7. I think Missouri State scores a garbage time touchdown, but this is an absolute beatdown.
All right. Fun KU football. Fun Lance Leipold fact. After going 6-6 for the first time at Buffalo, his third year, going into the fourth year, 10-4. They grew on it. They went from a soft 6-6 to a hard 10-4. So I see what you're saying. I see why you have that expectation. I'll take 7-5, by the way, as my prediction. And for Missouri State, I do think the defense isn't great for KU, probably. So 51-24. A shit pile of points.
It's a lot of points. A lot of scoring. It's a lot of action.
Scoring.
By the way, also going to get our first glimpse at Those new jerseys.
Yes.
Those new unis.
Yes.
Let's go.
Yes.
Those
Love
are
'em.
sick.
Love them.
Oh my God, I can't wait. I cannot wait to see those new jerseys.
All right. We will be back after week 1. And or if the penalties happen sooner, we'll be back. Remember.
Hey, post-game reaction, post-game breakdown. How'd you do? Yeah. How did you do driving the show today?
First of all, remember, we could be wrong. I think I did fine. We went a little long in some segments, but the timing looks pretty strong.
Need to tighten some things up.
Yeah, I think so. What do you think?
What can I do better? What can I do better?
You're hosting.
Like, where
next
could you? Okay, but like, where could you like envision some improvements from me? Like, what could I improve upon going into the second episode?
Maybe you bring some would you rather's, whatever the second episode's version of that is.
We're back on this again. Okay, we're back on this again. Okay.
Prep. Think of weird things to ask.
Yeah,
me.
Prepare more, care more. Yeah. Okay.
No, you just brought heat today, and I didn't have it, so I love it. We'll be back.
I told you there was an alien beating inside my chest trying to get out.
Yeah,
and I let it out.
Did you pop?
I let it out during this show. Okay. Yeah, he popped.
All right,
he popped, and I feel much better now.
If you're here, this is going to keep getting better. We're going to keep dropping bombs, relating, hopefully, or channeling what your friends are talking about and what our friends are talking about on this podcast. And remember that we could be wrong.